All right. We're back here with another episode of Aftershocks and AfterShocksTV.com on the CMS network. And on today's episode, we got a vocalist whose band has put in a lid on all the rock is dead talk that's been going on over the last few years. From LA's Dirty Honey, we got Marc LaBelle with us. Marc, thanks for coming on. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's a beautiful day in California right now, so I'm a happy guy. Just
Awesome.
Getting ready, spending the rest of the day packing to go on tour. So,
fantastic, man. Well, yeah, there's a whole bunch to talk about in the Dirty Honey camp right now, but we'll start off with talking about you guys' debut self-titled release that came out back in April. Solid as nails rocket. It picks up right where you guys left off with your immensely successful debut EP that, of course, spawned the chart topper When I'm Gone. And just like the EP, you guys recorded this record in Australia, which I would assume had to have felt probably a bit refreshing since you were just stuck at home. And I think, recording probably in LA might have not given you the same feels that would have if you did it on another country or continent like you did. So I guess talk about the recording process for the record. I mean, was the goal for the record and reason for using the same formula you guys did on the EP by using the same producer in studio? Was that intended to really try to recapture that same magic that helped, catapult the band to where you guys are today?
well, so truth be told, we sort of had like a hybrid of what we did the first time with this new record. The band stayed in LA because there were quarantine issues and COVID protocol getting into Australia. So that was the original plan, to go there and do it all the exact same way. But, COVID threw a wrench into that. And so we had Nick, our producer, who was in Byron Bay, Australia. He was on a feed on a big monitor, and everybody had an iPad or cell phone at their own like instrument station in the live room to see and hear him in real time. And he could hear what we were doing in real time. So we kind of used this advanced, it seemed like technology from the future way to make a record. But honestly, it felt pretty much the same. You're obviously not in the same room with them having those immediate interactions, but you still are over Zoom in that way. And he set us up with his engineer that he worked with in his Brendan O'Brien years, this guy, Tom Sorowski. So we were in really good hands, like in the studio, and Nick was literally there with us over the internet at the same time too. So it was, and the pre-production phase was literally no different. It was just sending emails back and forth of demos to him in Australia. And it actually worked out remarkably well, considering what a disaster it could have been.
Sure. Yeah.
So
no, absolutely, man. The album's fantastic. And of course, you guys got a lot going on with the band in terms of touring. We'll start with, obviously, you guys wrapped up recently your California Dreamin' Tour. You headlined that with Joyous Wolf. And I know right before the pandemic hit, I mean, you guys were on fire opening for, some bands that people may know about, maybe like The Who and Guns N' Roses and Slash, Alter Bridge. I mean, talk a bit about, though, going from playing with those monster bands and artists before live music shut down to now you come back out of the pandemic, you're headlining your own tour, and you're playing at, some smaller venues. Did it feel kind of weird after opening for these huge acts and playing the bigger venues, or was doing the club thing, obviously, I would think the best thing for you guys right now as sort of a warm-up before you go back on tour next month to the bigger amphitheaters and arenas again with another tiny little band called the Black Crowes?
I think that'll be the biggest shock, is the amphitheater run. We haven't done a run like that before. So that's going to be an adjustment. Just the size of the stage is, there's going to be some growing pains there, I imagine. It'll be fun, of course. But just getting used to a gigantic stage like that'll be just something to get used to. But we kind of picked up where we left off, because we did do some gigs with obviously all those bands you mentioned, but before COVID, we ended with our own sort of headlining tour, doing like anywhere from like 500 to 1,000 seat places. And that went to February 28th. We ended in LA right before the pandemic really took its stranglehold on the world. And so when we kicked everything back into gear, we started in Phoenix at a similarly sized place and did, the run that we did all throughout the country. So, the biggest difference was just people were just so jacked up to go to shows again and see live music. And for the most part, I'm sure 95% of the people there, that was the first live music they'd seen in the last 18 months. So,
sure. Mhm.
you know, it was exciting. But yeah, we sort of just picked up where we left off, and now obviously it's growing to something that we're going to have to adjust to.
No
Sure.
question. Well, Mark, I was listening to an interview with Chris Robinson, I don't know, a week or two ago on Eddie Trunk, and
Yeah.
he had some very flattering things to say about you guys. I'm curious for you, I'm sure it's flattering, but at the same time, does that just automatically throw pressure on you that you really don't need to be, as you jump into a tour with what is a very hardcore fan base?
Is it flattering to? What's the question exactly?
Does it cause pressure? I'm sure it's flattering. I mean, you could say yes.
Yeah.
I'm more curious of it. Does it cause you guys to feel any kind of pressure, maybe to be just a little better than you have been previously?
I think, Chris wears his emotions on his sleeve. And that's one of the things I really like about him. He's an artist that has opinions, and I appreciate that about him so much because, and
we lost your audio.
Oh, am I there?
There you go.
There you are.
Sorry. But yeah, in this age of political correctness, I appreciate artists like him that speak their mind and tell it like it is. And for that reason, yeah, it does go a little bit of pressure because he's going to tell me if I suck, I imagine. So yeah, you definitely want to be really good, but he's already told me he's going to completely corrupt me on the road and make me get tattoos and do bad things. So
very nice, man. Well, Mark, you have been very public, since the band kind of rose a year and a half ago. You've been pretty public about saying about the need not to have a label. And you guys really are one of the first bands to kind of do it really on your own with just marketing skills and whatnot, your own personal marketing skills. I've been curious, and I just haven't had the chance to ask you, have you had any blowback on that from venues or concert bookers or those types of people that do have allegiances and alliances with record labels?
Well, I think the venues and concert promoters, they mostly would probably, I'm sure almost exclusively would deal with whatever artist's booking agent, which is, it's a separate entity from their label, unless it's a really rare circumstance. So I don't think they wouldn't care as long as you're selling tickets and getting people, out to their venue. I don't think they care how it happens, but and in terms of the label thing, I don't really give a fuck what they think. I think they make bad decisions left and right. Some of them are good, obviously, but I've interacted with people here in LA that are very high up in the music industry. For the most part, my opinion is anybody that was smart got out of the label side of things 10 years ago or more, and saw that coming and moved over to like Live Nation or the just the live concert part of the business, or into management or something, or to Spotify, something like that. And when I met with a lot of these people, nobody really had a groundbreaking idea on how to help us. So we were just like, fuck this doesn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense, and one of my really good buddies is he's a guy that designs stages for every artist from Taylor Swift to Metallica. And he was one of the ones that was like, I don't know if this makes sense anymore. It just doesn't make sense to me. He's a really smart guy and kind of pushed us in that direction. But the whole unsigned band thing happened organically, honestly.
Okay.
The song started going up the charts, and we sort of looked around at what we were being offered, and none of it made sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. Sure. And do you think that your background and your education in marketing and in broadcasting and whatnot, do you think that was almost an unfair advantage that you guys have that most bands do not have, because you can actually look at it from your education and say, okay, well, I see what's going on. You see a bigger picture than the average singer that just is looking for, the dressing room and a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah, well, we're looking for Casamigos. Jack Daniels is cool too. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really learn anything that was like music business specific. I just, I kind of pride myself on not being a complete idiot. My family members would argue that till their death, that I'm just another moron, because I'm the youngest one on out there, so they like to tease me. But yeah, I didn't learn anything specifically that really helped. It's just asking questions, honestly, and taking an interest in understanding what your business essentially does. It's really that simple. Asking questions and just curiosity goes a long way in understanding. I mean, I don't want to name names, but we've been out with bands that really don't have any idea what's going on behind the scenes. They just show up, they magically get to the gig, they play, and that's all they worry about, which is cool. A lot of my favorite artists do that too. But I definitely like to know what's going on for sure.
Sure. Well, you do realize, though, that you are the exception to the rule, though, because like you said, I know a million bands and most of them don't have any idea what they're doing other than showing up and looking for the cash out at the end of the night.
Yeah. And usually it's the guys that got burned once that, smartened up and started asking, what the hell's going on here? Why am I broke? But I'm 10 times platinum or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Mark, what's great to see is this explosion of hard rock. It's been going, this whole hard rock revival we've been seeing. Obviously with you guys, the Greta Van Fleets, you got other bands out there, South of Eden, Plush, LA Maybe, and even globally, you got bands like Invertigo out of Canada, Electric Mob out of Brazil. I mean, this has really become a global thing, not just really domestic one. And you guys know that obviously you're a big hit with people in our age group in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, even 60s and 70s, I'm sure, who grew up with this music and love it. Are you seeing music fans who are like your age, in your 20s, that are finally starting to ditch their turntables and the EDM and the hip hop and picking up instruments and playing rock? Is rock, becoming a thing again with the younger generation music fans from what you're seeing in places like LA, which has obviously been ground zero for this kind of music for years?
Yeah, we were really surprised, actually. And I kind of saw it with Greta Van Fleet too coming. I went out and saw them a few years ago. I was in Denver and they played like the night I was leaving or something, or the day before I was leaving, and I stayed for the show. My buddy was in the opening band, and there's this kind of strange mix of, like you said, 40, 50, 60-year-old, men and women and really young kids at these shows. And this last tour going out, we definitely started to notice it shifting to a way younger, super young crowd, especially Phoenix was really young. Chattanooga was super young. Honestly, everywhere we went, it was kind of that split thing. And we noticed it on social media too. When, we say, hey, we'd love to see you guys playing this riff. It's just all young kids like picking up guitars. And that is the most fulfilling thing to me, is because all of us were that kid playing along to Aerosmith or Guns N' Roses, Black Crowes records. And that is one of the most fulfilling things to me, is knowing that you're inspiring somebody to pick up an instrument. It's really cool.
Sure. Yeah. Well, just going back to, what Chris was talking about before in terms of you guys not being signed to a label, I did read that one of the reasons why was, that none of the labels that did express interest were really to go all in and take that risk that's needed to take you guys to the next level. Does that signal to you that even though there is this big explosion of hard rock now coming out again, and should that signal to us as well that rock music still has an uphill battle to climb to get back to, relevancy again at this point in time in terms of, making a mark with some of these young music fans? I mean, is it something that you think, even though there is this explosion, there's still a lot of work to be done for it to get back to where it once was?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because when I think back in time, like pop kind of always was the biggest thing, whether it was Madonna or Britney Spears or whatever, you know what I mean? Now it's just Billie Eilish and whoever, you know, Guns N' Roses and Pearl Jam and the Black Crowes, you know, that like early 90s rock scene was cool, and it was huge, of course. But I think it was still niche kind of. And I think that's kind of the world that like the Black Keys lived in for a while, and like the Gary Clark Jr.'s and Kings of Leon. But, you know, I personally, I like the fact that it's like this kind of smaller thing, and it's cool. And, you know, if you like it, you really like it. You're not a casual fan, which is
true,
which is awesome. You know, everybody that comes to the shows like knows every word to every song. That's, I don't know if that's the case if a casual fan goes to like a pop show or something, you know? But yeah, there's probably, if that's the goal, then yeah, there's a ton of work to do before we're as big as, you know, not just us, but any rock artist is as big as, you know, Taylor Swift or something.
True. Well, and plus there's not MTV around anymore, which was obviously a big reason for that.
That's a huge thing. Yeah, that is totally a huge thing. And there was definitely like a cultural movement happening, I guess, now that I think about it, with, you know, the Nirvana and the Pearl Jam. That was like a thing, from fashion to the music to the attitude, which I guess we're kind of missing, you know?
True. Yeah, no doubt. Well, you know, just speaking of you personally, Mark, you know, you're one of the very, and I mean very few, who have made it, you know, if you want to call it made it right now, the way you guys are taking off the old-fashioned way, the way it used to be done in the 70s, 80s, even 90s in LA, right? You moved there, you lived in your car, right? You played in cover bands, you know, you paid your dues in the taverns, and then, of course, eventually, you know, you met up with the right set of musicians, and then, bam, you know, your first single goes #1 on the rock charts. You know, I mean, these are the kind of stories that I remember, like, hearing about all the time from those past decades. Talk about, you know, a bit about how important it was to pay, you know, your dues early on there and roughing it out in order to get to where you are now. I mean, is the taste of success that you're enjoying now, is it much more sweet because of how you went about chasing your rock and roll dreams?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely it is. There were a lot of people that said no, you know, on the way up. And there, you know, I look back at videos, to your point about just paying your dues, I look back at videos from 5-6 years ago playing in clubs and stuff, and I wasn't nearly as good as I am now, just in terms of singing, like stage ability, just like owning the stage, you know, and that comes with literally years of experience and just figuring it out. And I think that's one of the main ingredients missing from, say, an artist on like American Idol or The Voice or something, is maybe they're technically an amazing singer, but they just lack that X factor that just comes from playing in clubs for years and figuring it out. And you can be the best guitar player in the world. I've seen it, literally. I've seen it in LA, like amazing, blistering guitar players, but all the technical abilities there and everything, but they're just lacking a certain soul or a performance element that just, you're like, okay, play impressive, but you're not holding me for my attention for any period of time. So, you know, and just sticking with it, you know, it makes you really proud that you did stick with it and you got to see some sort of benefit from it. Obviously, having a song do really well is great, but for me, the goal was always just to get on the road with my friends and have a good time, and anything more than that would be icing on the cake.
No question. Well, Mark, one of the things that surprised me when I saw you when you opened for Slash here in Cleveland was that then you and the whole band were at the table like right after the gig. And I'll be honest, I was really kind of surprised that you guys were out there after that set. But I almost think that that's kind of a young band thing, that, you know, you won't see Slash come out and hang out at the table. You know, it's just, you know, and obviously it's because he came out in a different era. I think the era of social media almost forces younger bands to be more in touch with their fans, like, you know, communicatively with their bands. Do you think that that's true, that you have to kind of not go with the mystique of big rock star and you have to kind of interact with fans? Yeah,
I think especially in the beginning, you know, and it's fun for sure. That was our first real gig was with Slash in Phoenix. And I remember just organically thinking, like, there's nobody else to sell our shit, so I might as well go out and sell it myself and get some FaceTime with anybody that's that wants it. I didn't expect anybody to want to talk to us at all. And our manager specifically said before that show, he's like, how many shirts are you going to bring? Like 50? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. I was thinking like 150. There's going to be like 4,000 people there or something.
Right.
And he was like, you're only going to sell like 10 of those shirts, right? And I was like, yeah, maybe. I mean, that's better than none. And then all of them were gone. I mean,
wow.
They all left, and my brother was actually at that gig helping us out too. And I remember our manager being like, "What the fuck is going on here? You guys sold all this shit?" And so that was a cool moment. But yeah, we were all just excited, especially in the beginning. You're just excited to talk to people that are appreciative of what you're doing, and obviously have a passion for rock and roll, and just to chop it up with them. But yeah, as time wears on, that's just not. We did a gig in Detroit one time with, I think it was with Alter Bridge and Skillet, and there was a line of like 200 or 300 people waiting to just buy a T-shirt, say hello, grab a picture, and that was the first time we were like, "This is a little crazy," because it went from our set all the way to the end of the night to like literally, okay, everybody get out of here, like you guys got to go home from security.
Right.
And I for sure was like, this isn't sustainable anymore. I can't do this for 3 hours after a show and then drive another 3 hours to a hotel, get up 6 hours later and do it again.
Right.
So at some point it's going to have to end, but but it was fun.
Sure.
To do that. I mean, I say all the time, I'm just surprised anybody even cares that we exist. We're grateful that they do, obviously.
Sure. Well, I'll just put it this way: if the music sucked, they wouldn't care. So you have that going for you, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
Nice. Well, Mark, you're obviously getting ready to go out on tour with the Black Crowes all summer long. It's going to be a great tour. And of course the new record is out now. So where should we send people to keep up with you guys and find out if you're coming to their town and all that good stuff?
Yeah, just head over to dirtyhoney.com. Everything's all linked up there, but yeah, looking forward to getting back to Cleveland, of course, too. You're going to be at that show?
Oh, I'm planning on it. I hate the venue, but I'm coming anyway. Because
really? Why?
Dude, the venue sucks. It's such it's just a big, and you've played these places before, man. It's the kind with the big grass hill and it has the amphitheater thing that has terrible echoey sound. I'm not a fan of the venue, but because you guys are there and because I'm probably the biggest Black Crowes fan in the history of the world, I think.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'll battle you out for that one.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very cool, man. Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, one more time, the new album is out now. It's just called Dirty Honey, and of course out on tour with the Black Crowes. And Mark, thanks so much once again for joining us here on Aftershocks.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Good talking to you guys, and hopefully we'll see you soon.